Breaks down the numbers here in Toledo. And President Joe Biden is hitting another snag in his Build Back Better plan, how Americans feel as it could raise their taxes. Welcome to WTOL 11 News at Noon. I'm Amanda Fay. We'll get to your top stories and more in just a minute. But first, let's get a check of your forecast with First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips. Diane, I know warm weather is in today's forecast. Do we have a chance to break any records with this October heat?
We are going to be close, and considering that we've all been saying it's hot, it's even a little bit humid, we will not be breaking any records. The record was set back years ago at 87 degrees, and I am forecasting those highs to be right around 84 this afternoon. So we are going to be very close. We may pop out at that 87, but I think we're going to fall just short of putting new ink into the record books. Now, currently, as we take a check of local temperatures, you'll find that we're getting closer already to that 80-degree mark in some of our communities. 79 right now in Fremont. We're already at 81 in Findlay, but you'll find mid-70s as we head towards our west and even off towards our north. Southeast Michigan sitting in the mid-70s currently. Now, I know a lot of you have been debating AC, no AC, can we get by with just the windows open? Still going to be looking at some sticky weather here, and yet even a little bit humid. It's not quite a normal feeling for October, but we are going to be looking at that warm breeze to help pump those temperatures into the mid-80s. We have some rain to discuss, and that's coming up in your First Alert forecast.
Diane, thank you. We could be just weeks away from the FDA having the FDA approved coronavirus treatment that patients can receive at home. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill.
Merck has asked the FDA for an emergency use authorization for the first pill to treat COVID after clinical trials showed it helped save lives.
Dramatically, by 50%, reduce hospitalization and death. So an oral pill that works against COVID-19 hospitalization.
Current treatments such as Regeneron require patients to receive infusions. The Merck drug could be given at home, relieving the crush of COVID cases in hospitals.
As soon as it's FDA approved, we can start to prescribe it to patients rather than them having to come into an emergency room and be given intravenous therapy of an antibody or a shot of an antibody. They can get a pill.
Health officials say the new COVID treatment is exciting, but they say the best measure against COVID is still for people to get vaccinated.
We still have around 68 million people who are eligible to be vaccinated that have not yet gotten vaccinated.
Vaccine hesitancy is even greater among parents, debating whether their children should get the vaccine if the FDA approves it for kids 5 to 11. A new CBS News poll shows 35% of parents surveyed say they will not let their children get the vaccine. 26% are unsure.
I think there's a lot of information available. It certainly makes me confident about vaccinating my kids. And for those parents who still have a lot of questions, I would urge them to have a discussion with their pediatrician about the pros and cons of vaccination.
Politics is one of the key factors in whether parents will vaccinate their children, with 61% of Democrats saying yes and 56% of Republican parents saying no. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And the FDA will meet 2 weeks from tomorrow to discuss whether to approve the vaccine for children. Meanwhile, the government has already ordered enough of the Merck pills to treat 1.7 million Americans and will distribute them to the states if the FDA approves its use. Now, the push to get the COVID-19 vaccine continues. One group that is taking full advantage of the shots are those who need a booster. Amy Steigerwald is comparing local numbers.
COVID-19 booster shots have been available for just about 2 weeks here in Ohio, and people in Lucas County are taking advantage of them. So far, 14,000 people have received a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine here locally. Across the state, 285,000 people have taken advantage of a third dose as well. This comes as research surrounding booster shots for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and Moderna vaccine continue to move forward. One interesting trend we are seeing here in Ohio right now is the number of booster shots being distributed, outnumbering the number of first and second doses being given out across the state. So just to compare, here are some numbers from Friday. 18,500 booster shots were given out as compared to the 15,000 first or second doses of the COVID-19 vaccine that day. The health department continues to host both first and second dose COVID-19 vaccine clinics, along with booster shot clinics over at the Lucas County Rec Center on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Meantime, we are still waiting on a full clear for Pfizer to distribute its COVID-19 vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. We should know more about that in the coming weeks. Reporting in downtown Toledo, Amy Steigerwald for WTOL 11.
Well, today marks two federally recognized holidays, Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day. President Joe Biden is now the first president to mark Indigenous Peoples Day with a presidential proclamation. He signed it Friday in the latest efforts to refocus Columbus Day toward an appreciation of Native peoples. President Biden also issued a proclamation of Columbus Day. With today being Columbus Day, that means certain businesses will be closed. Businesses not open today, federal, state, city, and county offices, banks, and the post office. Businesses that are open on this Columbus Day, Toledo Lucas County libraries and trash collection will be on time. Hopefully you put your barrels out this morning. President Biden's Build Back Better plan is hitting another roadblock. The public. The CBS News poll finds that almost 60% of Americans are well aware of that $3.5 trillion price tag, and only 54% of Americans approve of the bill, with only 10% knowing what's actually in it.
They really should be working with us on an infrastructure package that would pass overwhelmingly, but instead they just have an insatiable appetite to raise taxes and spend more money.
The CBS News poll finds Americans overwhelmingly support individual elements of the bill like Medicare expansion and child care support. A group of 136 developed countries have agreed on a global corporate minimum tax rate of 15%. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development announced the breakthrough after years of disagreement. The nations agreed not to increase the rate later on. It also won't impact small businesses. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said she's confident Congress would approve this new rate. Well, some people who live in Washington Township are speaking publicly against the sale of the old government office on Blessing Drive. Back in July, trustees voted to move police, roads, and township offices over to the fire station because the old building needed repairs. Well, now the trustees are looking to sell the building. Some say selling it would create more problems, while one trustee says they simply don't have the money to fix it.
The way it's laid out, we're losing half of our tow lot back there. That's one main concern for me. The other is our roads department. This garage is packed, the other garage is packed.
Trustees will discuss any sealed bids on the property at this Tuesday's board meeting at 6 o'clock at the Shoreland Fire Station. Legislators, advocacy staff, and team members took a tour of the Lucas County Child Advocacy Center this morning. State Senator Teresa Gavarone says federal cuts have been made but are slated to be replenished, and legislators are looking to see what can be done in Ohio to support programs like this. In an average year, Child Advocacy Centers serve nearly 12,000 kids across the state. Statistics show that abuse cases rose during COVID last year, but caseworkers still try to keep up with the demand.
I'm really impressed about the work they do, working not just with children who've suffered abuse, but families to help really heal and hopefully get them through this difficult time and help children through this difficult process with really wraparound services.
Children were helped with counseling, trauma, care, and the court system in a one-stop shop at this advocacy center.
If you look at the cause of death, 80% of those who died and who continue to die in Ohio of an overdose of drugs die from fentanyl.
That was Governor Mike DeWine speaking on a rise in drug-related deaths last year. Locally, families in Defiance rallied Saturday for the same concerns, which hit close to home. Diane Urban founded the Association of People Against Lethal Drugs, or APALD, to raise awareness of this growing crisis. She lost her son in 2019 to fentanyl.
Before, you'd have to worry about doing drugs you might get addicted, but now by trying any drug on the street, whether pill form or powder, you're risking your life.
A lot of these kids, they don't realize what's in these drugs. These drugs are actually made to look like pharmaceutical safe drugs, and they're not.
The organizers say they're pushing for newer legislation that will better target and punish those responsible for dealing these drugs in Ohio. We're following several court cases this week, including the sentencing of a former Ottawa Hills Schools employee. A jury found Ronald Stevens guilty last month of sexually abusing several teenage boys. Prosecutors say the crimes happened between August 2017 and November 2019. Most of the victims were Ottawa Hills students. Stevens will be sentenced tomorrow. Also facing a judge tomorrow, Robert Hathorn of Muskegon, Michigan. He's accused in the shooting of a state trooper in Findlay and charged with aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. And we first brought you the news of the shooting last Thursday. Hathorn was on the run for about 12 hours after a traffic stop ended with a scuffle and the trooper Joseph Brope's gun going off. He was shot in the lower half of his body, but is expected to make a full recovery. Some of the young men charged in the hazing death of BGSU student Stone Foltz will be back in court this week. Ben Boyers, Dalen Dunson, and Troy Henriksen pleaded not guilty. 4 others are also facing charges from first-degree felony manslaughter to reckless homicide and hazing. We'll, of course, have updates on these court cases as they come in on WTOL.com.
I think my biggest fear was that I'd bring it home to my family.
So this is interesting.
For healthcare workers fighting the COVID pandemic has taken a serious mental health toll. What a new study has found about the impact of stress on doctors and nurses.
And everybody's talking about it, that big warm up here in October, but we'll see how long this outrageous warm stretch is going to last in your first alert forecast. Typically, as we head into October, we have those temperatures that actually feel like October, which isn't what we've had for this month, as we are forecasting highs today around 84 degrees, and that's actually the average temperature on June 21st. So if you think back that's actually the beginning of summer. So we are looking at some summer-like temperatures rather than autumn. And typically we would see temperatures into the mid 60s. So we almost have about a 20-degree swing here as our temperatures are well above average, and they're going to be sitting there for a little while longer. I have this yellow line to represent your average temperatures, and you can see that many of our days this week we're going to be above that line. But when we do transition down, you can see there's just a little bit of space between that temperature and that average line, and we're actually going to see our temperatures become a little more seasonal as we'll be sitting into the mid 60s, which is where they should be once we get through this weekend. If you do love the warmer weather, enjoy this week. If you're looking for even a little more fall color and actually October temperatures, then you're going to really be excited for next week's forecast. But even as we head towards the back half of the month, we're still going to be trending on a warmer side. Looking at our 8 to 14-day temperature outlook, there's quite a bit of red here on this map. And what that orange shading is going to be looking like here through northwest Ohio and southeast Michigan is that we have a pretty decent chance of seeing temperatures above average. Now, average temperatures, again, will be in the 60s. So I don't think the 80s, though, are going to be carrying us all the way through our month of October. Now, current temperatures, they're warming up for some of us. You can see the further east you go, we're sitting in the upper 70s. We even have 81 in Findlay, and it's only lunchtime. But the further west, you'll find those temperatures, even through southeast Michigan, sitting into the mid 70s. But I think many of us are going to have a chance for it to feel summer-like, because that's what the hour-by-hour forecast, that's what it's going to be bringing in with those southerly winds to warm us up. But tonight, we have a system that's going to be very weak, and it'll bring us just a slight chance of some rainfall overnight. So be prepared for potentially using your wipers tomorrow morning, but we should have some decent weather once that overnight rain moves out. So plan on, again, a warm Monday. It'll be breezy as temperatures sit in the mid 80s. Tonight, we will have those showers still mild as lows are only going to bottom out into the mid 60s. Now, again, this week going to be a warm one. We have 60s though this weekend and beyond. And once we get through a wet finish this week, we have nothing but sun coming our way next week. Amanda?
All right, thank you. Healthcare workers have been fighting the COVID pandemic on the front lines for more than a year and a half. And now we're learning the mental health toll it's taking on them. Michael George shows us how a new study uses technology to monitor stress among doctors and nurses.
Dr. James Marion is a gastroenterologist, but when the first wave of COVID devastated New York, he was asked to help the sickest patients.
They wanted me to run a 14-bed COVID unit. The hospital was filling up pretty rapidly.
He was one of thousands of healthcare workers coping with stress of long hours, PPE shortages, and the worry of catching COVID.
I think my biggest fear was that I'd bring it home to my family.
So this is interesting in this study.
Doctors Robert Hurton and Zahi Fayyad at Mount Sinai are studying the psychological effects of the pandemic on frontline healthcare workers in what they call the Warrior Watch study. Doctors and nurses wear Apple Watches to monitor their heart rate and fill out surveys to measure stress, resilience, emotional support, and quality of life.
Healthcare workers we're finding have increasing rates of burnout, anxiety, are at risk of developing post-traumatic stress disorder, and have ongoing long-term effects from the stress.
They also found healthcare workers who could overcome stress and had strong emotional support were protected.
There are multiple ways you could build resilience. It all relates to lifestyle, your exercise, improve your sleep patterns, and learn how to do breathing exercises to be able to deal with things when they come to face you.
Dr. Marion took part in the research and says he's motivated to improve his mental and physical health.
It has totally changed my relationship with exercise and with staying fit. I was running before, but now I'm doing pacing, I'm doing interval training.
And that's helping his body and mind. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Well, fall may have gotten off to a warm start, but doctors think the flu season could be quite unpredictable because of COVID. We've officially hit the start of the flu season, which is from October to March. Since the flu can spread easily, doctors recommend everyone 6 months and older get a flu shot, especially for parents of a newborn.
In any given year, you can have, thousands of deaths in the pediatric population from flu, and those are generally unvaccinated children.
No matter your age, doctors say it's important to get vaccinated early. Coming up tonight at 5, I'll explain the difference between the flu and a common cold and how it compares to COVID. A reminder that the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department is hosting flu shot clinics next month. You can see them there on your screen. The clinics are all at the health department in downtown Toledo. You do need to call for an appointment at the number listed on your screen, 419-213-2013. We're nearing the end of Hispanic Heritage Month, and many immigrants are still fighting for permanent status here in the United States. Thousands in Washington say creating better pathways to citizenship for immigrants in the U.S. should be on the top of lawmakers' priority list. Ricardo Ortiz is from Mexico, and he moved to the States 2 years ago. He joined CASA, the largest grassroots immigrant advocacy organization in the Mid-Atlantic region. For him, it's personal. He grew up attending marches alongside his mother in their village.
They are here because they don't have opportunities in their country. They want to live in a better place for their children, for them, and also for their communities.
Outreach is another pillar for CASA, providing job opportunities, rental assistance, and even COVID vaccine information for thousands. The red-hot real estate market cooled a little bit this summer, what it all means if you're trying to buy a home. And supply chain issues are causing trouble for crude oil. Just how much pain you'll feel at the pump next time you fill up. Well, the Dow rises slightly to start the week with energy stocks leading the way after oil tops $81 a barrel. We'll have more on that in just a moment. The Dow is up about 70 points right now. Your closing numbers tonight at 5. Let's take a look at some of your top money stories of the day. Oil prices are climbing to their highest in years. U.S. crude has increased to a 7-year high of $81.50 a barrel. That's a more than 120% jump since the end of last October. AAA says that the national average for a gallon of gas is about $3.27. Right now, the lowest price in Toledo is about $2.94 at the Sunoco on Conant Street. Having trouble getting the new Apple Watch? You're not alone. Bloomberg says supply constraints are leading to delivery setbacks. Pre-orders for the Series 7 watch started on Friday. Within minutes, customers saw delivery dates pushed back as far as late November. Shoppers ordering the new iPhone 13 are also seeing shipping delays. Are you in the need of a new work laptop? A recent OnePoll survey found more than half of Americans describe their work devices as awful. 2 in 3 have been tempted to toss them out altogether. But a third of respondents admitted they use their work devices for personal communication. More than 1 in 4 shop online and scroll social media. The real estate market took off during the pandemic, and it doesn't look like that is changing much. The red-hot real estate market cooled a little bit this summer, but is still sizzling. The latest numbers show pending home sales rose a little more than 8% in August compared with July, and experts say that continues to drive home prices, up nearly 15% from a year ago. The median price for an existing home is around $356,000.
Of homes are selling in less than a month. And this has really been tough on people who are entering the housing market because the affordability has really changed.
And more bad news for potential home buyers. Mortgage rates have been on the rise recently. Coming up in just a few days, it's a chance for your kids to get more treats than tricks. The Toledo Zoo is hosting Little Boo at the Zoo and Pumpkin Path. There will be magic shows, pumpkin carving, and character meet and greets. Trick-or-treating stations will be spread around the zoo and have allergy-friendly non-food treats as well. Little Boo at the Zoo is this Thursday and Friday. Pumpkin Path is Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, some of those costumes were adorable just in the video.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of them wearing ponchos too. Last year was the case for that. Looks like this year maybe too.
Maybe. But we'll keep an eye on it. We got a couple days to fix all that up and make it a little bit better. But also, I was talking and asking you, maybe lunch outside, and it looks like the clouds are out there, but it is at least a little bit warmer as we get towards those 80s. Today going to be our last 80-degree day on this forecast. 70s for this week and 60s come this weekend. And there is that Friday chance of rainfall. Thursday as well. So we'll keep an eye on these spooky forecasts to come.
Yeah, but 8, maybe the last 80 for the year. We'll see. See you back here at 5, everybody.